Good afternoon. This is Susan, and I want to talk about kids in D.H.R. and how unhealthy this is for children, especially when they're being passed around on purpose. I would like to address this message, and I'm going to forward it to the White House, and I'm going to forward this message to Senator Jones, to Congressman Byrne, and to our Governor Ivey. I would like to make it abundantly clear that I am the best mother for my son. My son was picked up based on allegations that I was potentially suicidal, and they were never able to prove in court that this was such. They were never able to prove in court that somebody, even if anybody, made that phone call. The whole thing was for investigations while my son got passed around. I sent Governor Ivey a letter regarding racketeering in my community. And I mean, who else do you report this kind of stuff to? Who else? People will mock you. People will say, well, what are you going to do? As if, implying that if I am Jesus, or that if I'm God, I'm going to magically get my son back. And this kind of behavior is racketeering. This is provoking, and God does not provoke. There's a lot of racketeering and a lot of politics within politics and politics within the churches and public education as well. But when my son was picked up, I specifically reported to Governor Ivey as it was happening. My son's skin has become, it's just really bad. And this is what I was trying to avoid from the very beginning. When Mr. Sanders had Alexander, and D.H.R. is known for doing this on purpose. Every time the kids get attached to a certain foster family, or they get attached to a caseworker, the supervisors, in this case Susan Haggerty, and her associates, are in charge of this situation. To me, this is just for pure vindictive purposes. This is not for the welfare and well-being of my child. When Mr. Sanders, the caseworker who had him, was in the case, my son's glasses fit him perfectly. My son was not unhealthy, and he was not moved around. Ever since Ms. Brotniks took over the case, and Ms. Brotniks is half blind. Ms. Brotniks wears these thick Coke bottles, and she's half blind. She took a photograph of me and my children, and the picture was still blurry. So they just goes to show you that, I don't know Ms. Brotniks. I don't know if she is one of y'all's former foster kids, or if she's doing this for sociology or psychology studies. But my son is not y'all's guinea pig. Okay, he's not. And I would like to know what the hypocrisy is with not only the state of Alabama, but this country, this United States of America, and where we go to fight for the freedom of America, and yet we're violating our own people's rights. The whole thing about taking my son from me was because they wanted to investigate, if I was potentially suicidal. Maybe they wanted to investigate if I'm involved in any kind of illegalities, and I'm not. I don't do drugs. I don't sell drugs. I have had a drug test. In fact, Mr. Ken Baxley, who was assigned as a court-appointed attorney, the first question that he asked me was if who my next of kin was, and then he proceeded to ask me if I had had a drug test, and I said yes. You can tell that I'm not a drug addict. I've already shown you my teeth. There's no need for this. You know that I've not done drugs, and these labs here in Alabama were busted for purposely mixing up these test results. The whole thing is a scam. The whole thing, and you know it. But I would like to know, since when do you assign these attorneys who are supposed to be representing you, which is not a fair representation? According to, and I don't know if this is true, but according to, the information that I found is that it was in the news that Mr. Ken Baxley was associated with child pornography. And because D.H.R is also associated with child pornography, and there was this new attorney that was quote unquote assigned to me, Miss Brown, who's a former D.H.R worker, and she didn't even ask me any questions about what had happened with D.H.R. Nothing. All I know is that she knows Miss Miller, Mr. and Mrs. Miller, and that Mr. and Mrs. Miller told me they know the judge. So Mr. and Mrs. Miller have been associated with foster care industry. They supposedly have a healing room in are associated with Christianity, but when I asked them, I told them I offered them money to stay in their house underneath, where it's like a whole room by yourself, like a whole house by yourself. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, very clean Christian family. They said, no, you just save it and go get your own apartment. And I would like to know what the hypocrisy is with all of these Christian people and International Ladies Tea and all people helping people that come from other countries, and all the hypocrisy. So anyway, it seems to me like my son was being used, and I was being used, because I feel like we both were being auctioned off. At one point, I was being kind of motivated into dating a friend who's 18 years older than I, and I know that I'm not a child, I'm not a kid, but I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be associated with these kind of behavior, and people encouraging other people to go get a sugar daddy. And then what happens to my son? This friend of mine was not interested in helping me get my son back. Okay, all of these things have been already prearranged, so you think. And like I said, I am sending a copy of this to our President Trump and his wife, Miss Melania Trump, and she's a mother. She knows what it's like to be a mother. And, I didn't come here to the Gulf Coast to be associated with any illegalities and associated with any kind of ghetto system, because this ghetto system came to me. Okay? And this has nothing to do with race or anything like that. I'm just fed up because of the hypocrisy. I am concerned about my son's welfare and well-being, about him, his glasses have been always broken and too large for his frames since this caseworker took over the case. She came over to my apartment, which was clean, orderly, organized. Like I said, I don't do drugs. I didn't even have a roommate or anything at the time. My son's bedroom was fully ready for him, and this woman did not want to give my son back to me. Now, I would like to know what, the hypocrisy as to, fighting for freedom of the American people and fighting communism, when we let everybody and their brother in here, people from communist countries. And I had a lady that I worked with, a co-worker that I work with. I'm not going to say the country, but she's from a Latin American communist country, okay, according to statistics. And she said to me, oh, well, whatever, when I was going through D.H.R. Ordeal, she said, well, what if anybody comes to your apartment and wants you to sign anything and wants you to cooperate, just cooperate with them and sign whatever it is that they need you to sign. And I have proof that I didn't sign anything to be putting my son up for adoption or anything like that. But that woman came to me a few days later and said that her daughter was going to be getting some assistance for medical school or something like that. I don't know if this is like a favor for a favor. If somebody gave her a call and told her, look, since you work with Susan, why don't you, encourage her to cooperate, and sign documentation that I didn't have any business signing. These people are associated with these other organizations, and it's like a temporary association while you never see them again. So like I said, this lady is from a communist country, according to statistics. She came to United States, to better the quality of her life. Why can I better the quality of my life? Why have I come here legally, served this country, was honorably discharged with a good conduct medal, and I have been backpedaling because of the system putting a kink on me? I don't want to hear that, oh no, no. Psychology and religion, it's a big hypocrisy here in this country, because it's like they take your kid away from you and then they want you to go to work and function and just function. You're supposed to be optimistic. You're supposed to have a smile on your face because nobody wants to work with a sour person. And then my son's supposed to be the same. He's supposed to be cooperating. And do you see how there's no freedom here in America? Not only no freedom, but no freedom for the American people, while everybody and their brother comes in here, including communist countries. Okay, so when people come, they come with their customs. When my son was taken, was based on that I was suicidal, potentially. Irrelevant issues were brought up. My son was being passed around. Then they wanted me to get a psychological evaluation. Did that, did my parenting class. My son was returned to me. While my neighbor had encouraged me to go live with her daughter because my benefits, the day that I was supposed to get my apartment, 2-bedroom apartment with 1 bath in Saraland. That's why I registered my son from Dodge Elementary to Saraland Elementary, because we were in moving transition. I was supposed to get the keys in my apartment for a lease that I signed. I signed a 6-month lease through the Veterans Homelessness Prevention Program. When I went to this apartment complex, which was, I should say for people who are on a budget, but I was just like, this is temporary, as long as it's safe, no drugs or anything. Then I had to hear the spiel from the manager going on about paraphernalia, that if I was caught with paraphernalia, and I'm just thinking, excuse me, here I am dressed conservatively. I am with my child, and this woman proceeded to talk to me like I'm some kind of a drug dealer or drug addict. And it's like, it's like unbelievable. Then the caseworker that was in charge of my benefits came over with her supervisor, a man that I had never seen before. Never saw him before or after. And I don't even know who these people are working for these organizations. You see, they got money, their organization got money for my benefits that were approved. And then they said that in 3 months, I signed a 6-month lease, and the assistance was for 3 months. And they said that in 3 months, they were going to assess the situation and see if I could continue with the assistance for another 3 months. All of this was told to me. All of this regression, all of this degradation, having to listen to somebody talk to me about paraphernalia, and all of this stuff just to get a little bit of money from the government for me as a veteran, while somebody else got the money or the assistance, because the homelessness prevention program for veterans got the money. It was approved. And I, on the other hand, the day that I was supposed to get the keys to my apartment for a lease that I had signed, they were not given to me. My son was picked up directly from school without a court order. That was illegal. Because if that's the way that you're going to conduct your business in an illegal manner, then you're violating your people's rights. You're violating your people's freedom. You're contradicting yourself, and this is not a free country. It's no different than people who are being persecuted in their countries and they end up coming here and sponsored, if you will, by the American government to help them because they're being persecuted in their own countries for political reasons, for religious persecution, or whatever. So you tell me that this is not backpedaling in hypocrisy in America. Another thing is I would like to know all this freedom since when do people own people? So basically what you're telling me is that my son is not my son, that he belongs to the state because you say so. Because you need kids like my son and other women's children for your guts and luxuries. I am a naturopathic doctor, self-made. When I have a fungal infection, I take care of it at the root of the problem. And I will show you, okay? I don't care if you think I am mentally unstable. Okay. Fungal infection, gone. Gone! I take care of it at the root of the problem. I don't want to cover it up with a nail polish. I don't want to cover it up. The only thing that I have to cover up is my melasma because I have to be able to present myself and go to work. When I lived in my apartment in Mobile, on Carlisle, I was asleep and I heard, it sounded like a laser. And I said, en el nombre de Jesucristo. I don't trust any of you. I have seen some senators that are right down righteous, and I have seen some senators that are fake to the bone. They will say, oh, communist China. Oh, there's some heroes right here. This hypocrisy has got to stop. We don't want clowns and fakes working for our government. That's a lot of money that you people get paid to represent the people. And I have had Hispanics put me through the cross as if I'm supposed to be representing them when I'm not a politician, nor do I like politics. I despise court and politics to the core that it makes me sour. I like cooking, organizing my home, taking care of my child, taking him to school, picking him up, because I don't trust any of you. I don't trust humanity. I don't trust people who are watching us. Because when kids go missing, y'all don't know where these kids go. Well, you do know. They're being trafficked and they're being used for organ harvesting. We're no different than Mexico. We let everybody and their brother in here. And I want to know, what is the point of a strong national security if we're going to be accusing our president of having won presidency because of infiltration from Russia? Then who allowed the infiltration? If there was any infiltration. We have our own enemies right here, folks. What happened with the CDC and these tests that were purposely put out there, then they said, oh, well, it was sloppy manufacturing. How is it that you're going to tell me that you have years of experience manufacturing different vaccines and medications? I don't care if there is a new bug. The manufacturing process is the same. This was purposely done, and this is a fungus that's being put up there people's noses, because you know that you're going to have a lot of people with problems later on. And you're going to have all these doctors treating these problems. Just like all of these unnecessary vaccines that you allowed to be put out there. Because you know that these medical professionals are going to be treating all of these symptoms. I am sick and tired of the hypocrisy. If you so much desire to study human growth and development, that you so much desire to study the development of diseases, then you either study on yourselves and each other, or you go back to school and study right. There is so much yet for you to learn, and it's called naturopathic medicine. When you take out the bad and you put in the good, and you prevent disease, the goal is not to purposely injure somebody so that you can treat it. Let us talk honestly here, because I feel like I have enough testosterone in my body, and that's why you don't like me. You don't like me at all. Do you like me? This is why you have made my life a living hell. And then I have Hispanics coming up to me as if I'm supposed to be a defender of that community. How am I supposed to be a defender of any particular community? When Alexander was used for all kinds of things, all kinds of issues were coming up. Parents who are on marijuana, should they have their kids back? I don't care what people smoke in their home. If they want to do marijuana on the weekends and they're good parents, why should our government be taking those kids away from them? Our government allows vaccines and medications that kill millions of people. Who gets rich off of that? The lawyers who turn around and sue. Well, my name is Sue as well. My son Alexander needs to be returned to me because my son does not belong to the state. This is not a communist country. People don't own people. What are you, Pharaoh? Are you? My son needs my cooking and my preventive medicine. I have had enough. Thank you.